It was 3:17 a.m., the kind of hour where even the walls forget how to echo. No notifications, no headlights outside, just you and the weight, that quiet, suffocating ache that lives beneath every strong face. Last night, something inside you broke, but not in a way anyone else could see. Not the kind of broken that shatters, the kind that dissolves silently. No one was there to hear it, no one but one. There's a presence that doesn't wait for morning. It doesn't need light to see. It doesn't need words to understand. It was already near, before the first tear left your eyes. You weren't ignored. You weren't forgotten. Even now, in the quiet aftermath, you're being held. This moment, right now, isn't about fixing. It's not about getting strong again. It's about resting in a truth that doesn't need to be earned. Heaven heard you. And because of that, you don't have to hold this alone anymore. Stay. Let this space be what last night couldn't be. A place to exhale. A place where the pain has a name, and the silence finally answers back. Even now, I trust you're near. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It just lingers, wakes up with you, follows you into the shower, sits next to you in traffic, and no one sees it. Not because they don't care, but because this ache doesn't leave a bruise. Some days, you move through the world with practiced strength, smiling, answering, functioning. But inside, you wonder if anyone really knows how tired you are, how much it costs to keep going. If that's you, you're not weak, you're not broken, you're human, and deeply seen. God doesn't need your performance to stay close. He doesn't love the stronger version of you more. He's near in the ache, in the slow unraveling, in the questions you don't even know how to ask. Even now, he holds the weight with you. Not to rush you through it, but to remind you, this pain is not permanent, and you are not alone. What you're carrying matters here. This space was created for souls like yours. Tired, tender, still reaching. You're not here by accident. If your heart needs more moments like this, more reminders that you're not forgotten, stay close. Subscribe to Calm Called, so when the next whisper of peace comes, you don't miss it. There's more to receive, and it's coming. Some cries are silent, not because they lack pain, but because they carry too much. You didn't want to wake anyone, didn't want to seem dramatic, didn't want to admit it was that deep, so you swallowed it again and again, until the ache turned into numbness, until the numbness started to feel like normal. But heaven didn't wait for your words. It didn't need a sound to notice. Your breath shifted, and God leaned in. Because what you couldn't say, 5, was already being spoken in spirit. This isn't about being dramatic. It's about being honest. And somewhere deep inside, that ache meant something. That moment wasn't wasted. That the tears weren't just emotion. They were movement. You've been asking for a sign. This is one, not loud, not flashy, just real. Just enough to say, you're being led somewhere holy. The breaking point wasn't the end. It was the first step into something sacred. Don't rush out of it. Stay. Let the cry lead you where your words couldn't. The world treats night as absence, as something to rush through, to sleep off, to survive. But God, He doesn't treat darkness the way we do. In Scripture, Night is never just the end of the day. It's often where beginnings are born, where covenants are whispered, where angels visit, where wrestlings turn into blessings. Jacob's life changed in the dark, alone, afraid, with nothing left to prove. That's where he wrestled with God. That's where he was renamed. The Israelites walked through the Red Sea under a midnight sky. Paul and Silas worshipped in a prison after sundown. Jesus prayed in Gethsemane when everyone else fell asleep. Night is not neglect, it's invitation. It's in the night that distractions fade, that pride quiets down, that souls stop performing. And that's when the presence becomes undeniable. Maybe that's why your tears came when they did. Not during the day, when you're busy holding it all together, but in the night, when God could finally reach the part of you that stops pretending. The ache didn't scare him away. The silence didn't offend him. He meets you there, in the most hidden hour. Because night is sacred to God. It's not where he retreats. It's where he draws near. It's where he listens more closely, where he speaks more gently. So, if you've ever felt like your cries were wasted because they happened after everyone else went to sleep, remember this: some of the holiest moments in Scripture happened in darkness. So don't rush through your night. There's purpose in it, there's movement in it, and most of all, there's someone in it with you. You didn't start the conversation. You didn't initiate the healing. Before your voice cracked, before your chest tightened, before the tears rose, heaven was already moving. The silence you sat in last night wasn't empty. It was full, but not with answers, full of presence, full of listening. Because before you ever spoke, God was already breaking the silence on your behalf. There's this moment in Exodus when God says to Moses, "I have seen their misery. I have heard their cry. I am coming down to deliver them, not after their perfect prayer, not after they prove themselves worthy, but simply because he noticed." God doesn't respond like humans. He doesn't wait for eloquence. He responds to presence, to spirit, to ache. Last night, that breaking point wasn't the signal that you were falling apart. It was the sign that something sacred had already begun. Heaven wasn't waiting on you. It was waiting with you. And then it moved first. The shift wasn't in your tears. The shift was in the atmosphere. The moment Grace leaned forward. This is why you felt something you couldn't name. Why the air seemed to change even before you prayed. Because the veil between your ache and his mercy grew thin, and heaven crossed it. What if what you called weakness was actually alignment? What if your moment of collapse was heaven's moment of response? You didn't ruin anything by crying. You didn't fail by feeling. You didn't interrupt heaven. You joined it. Sometimes, the most sacred shifts don't come with signs. They arrive wrapped in fatigue, in the middle of messy prayers, on nights when you feel least ready. We expect transformation to be grand, a breakthrough, a light from the sky, an answered prayer that makes the wait worth it. But most shifts don't shout, they whisper. And this one, it began the moment you let yourself cry. The moment you stopped holding it all together. The moment you let go of the idea that strength meant silence. There's power in that surrender, in loosening your grip, in falling into God's hands instead of your own expectations. Something turned last night, not because you forced it, but because you didn't. Because your spirit exhaled. Because you finally allowed space for the ache to speak. And heaven responded. It always does, but rarely in the way we imagine. Not through flashes, through faith. Faith that endures in the quiet. Faith that trusts the ground is shifting even when the view hasn't changed yet. Think of the seed, how it breaks before it blossoms. The moment the soil splits, it looks like loss. But it's birth. That's what's happening in you now. What you called falling apart might actually be falling into place. The shift is slow, but sure, subtle, but divine, unseen, but undeniable. Even now, beneath the weariness, something new is rising. You may not see it, but your soul feels it. A strange calm, a gentler breath, a soft hope. Let it come. Don't resist the quiet change. This is not the end of your story. It's the page that turns when no one's watching. If you could whisper one thing to heaven right now, without filtering it, without spiritualizing it, without shrinking it down to what sounds holy, what would it be? Not the polished version, not the one you've practiced in public prayers, but the raw truth, the part of you still aching, the question you're afraid to ask. What do you need God to know that you've been too tired, too ashamed, too afraid to say out loud? Go there, even just for a moment. He can handle it. He already knows. But there's something healing in you choosing to tell it. Say it anyway. This is not about performance. It's not about getting the right words. It's about release, letting your soul speak, letting your pain be known not just in spirit but in surrender. Whisper it if you have to. Write it in a journal. Say it into your pillow. Mouth it into the silence. Whatever it takes, let it out. Because your silence doesn't make you holy, and your honesty doesn't make you weak. It makes you real, and heaven moves in real. Jesus didn't wait for polished prayers. He wept, he groaned, he cried out, he understands. And he draws near when we do the same. So this is your moment. Ask the question. Name the fear. Release the grief. Tell him you're still angry. Tell him you're still hoping. There is no punishment for honesty. Only presence. Only nearness. Only healing that begins when the mouth moves, even if the voice shakes. If it helps, let's whisper it together. God, here's where it hurts. Here's what I'm afraid you forgot. Here's what I don't understand. But still, I trust you're near. There's a moment, right after the tears stop, but before the words return, where breath becomes sacred. No fixing, no striving, just breath. And in that breath, God meets us. This isn't about resolution. It's about rhythm. The inhale that says, I'm still here. The exhale that says, I don't have to carry it alone. Your breath matters to God. It always has. From the very beginning, when he formed Adam from the dust, the first thing he gave him wasn't instruction. It was breath. And even now, when you feel like dust again, he's still breathing into you, not demanding action, but offering presence. This is where peace begins, not in the answers, not in the escape, but in the moment you return to the breath, to yourself, to the God who never left. Let everything else fall away for a minute. No lists, no guilt, no trying to get back on track. Just this. Breathe. Feel the rise of your chest, the release of your shoulders, the way your spirit slowly remembers. I'm not alone. I'm still held. I don't have to rush. Inhale again, slowly. Let it reach the places that feel frozen. Let it soften the questions. Let it melt the armor. This breath is not ordinary. It's a reminder, a rhythm, a quiet echo of divine alignment. You don't have to know what's next. You don't have to be fully okay. You just have to keep breathing and trust that every inhale brings you closer, not to control, but to communion. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to jump to be seen. You don't have to quote scripture to be in the spirit. Sometimes, the deepest faith sounds like silence. Like the steady breathing of someone who won't give up. Like the quiet yes buried inside a tired heart. Like the tear that falls not from despair, but from trust. The world teaches us to prove belief, to declare it boldly, to show it on the outside. But heaven notices the inward flame, the one that flickers but refuses to go out. There are days when lifting your hands feels too heavy, when even whispering a prayer feels like too much. On those days, faith is in your staying, in your showing up even in silence, in your not walking away. Remember Elijah? After the fire and wind and earthquake passed, God wasn't in the spectacle. He was in the still, small voice. Not loud, not impressive, but real. Faith isn't always bold. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's choosing to keep breathing, to keep waiting, to trust that heaven is working even when the evidence is thin. And maybe that's where you are now. Not shouting, not dancing, just holding on, and that's more than enough. Don't let anyone, not even your own thoughts, convince you that faith must be loud to be real. Jesus saw the woman who touched the hem of his garment. She didn't say a word, but her silent reach was louder than a sermon. Right now, you are touching the hem, with every breath, with every choice not to give up, with every still moment of trust. And God notices, even in this, especially in this. This isn't your first night of tears. It's not your first season of silence, not your first ache. And somehow, even when you thought you wouldn't, you made it through. Memory is a spiritual gift, but pain can fog it. When we're deep in the ache, we forget the last time God carried us, the last time we almost broke, but didn't. But think back to the hospital room, to the closed door, to the "this is the end" moment, and remember it wasn't. You survived more than once, not because you were strong, but because grace found you. You may have limped through, crawled even, but you didn't stay down. You were led, even if you didn't realize it then, and the same hand is here now. Sometimes we forget our own testimony. We think this time is different. This time it's darker. This time it might undo us. But if you listen closely beneath the fear, you'll hear something familiar. A memory of the God who didn't leave, of the peace that came in the middle of chaos, of the strength that met you when yours ran out. You've been here before, not exactly here, but in this kind of night, and you made it through. Not because you had all the answers, but because you were held. Let that memory anchor you. Let it speak louder than your fear. You're not starting from nothing. You're walking with scars that know the way. This is not defeat. It's remembrance, not regression, but reconnection. Even now, you're stronger than you feel, not because of what you know, but because of who you belong to. Now we see it more clearly. The cry wasn't weakness. It was movement. The ache wasn't a pause in your story. It was a page turn. The breaking wasn't the end. It was the door. Last night's tears carried more than pain. They carried permission to let go, to release, to fall into the arms that never flinch. You thought you were unraveling, but you were being rethreaded by a weaver who uses even sorrow to stitch together purpose. This is the sacred reversal. The cry that felt like collapse was actually alignment. The night that felt empty was filled with divine movement. And slowly, softly, something in you knows now. You are not stuck. You are not invisible. You are not behind. You are you becoming. Heaven didn't look away. It responded, not with noise, but with nearness, not with spectacle, but with sacred unfolding. Everything that happened last night, every tear, every breath, every whispered question, was received. It mattered. You didn't fall apart for nothing. You opened something, and now, peace can enter through that door, not to fix everything, but to hold everything. The silence wasn't empty, it was holy, and now that you've walked through it, you carry something new, not just survival, but sacred memory. So, if the night returns, and the ache rises again, you'll remember, the cry was a door, and God was already on the other side. Let this be the moment you don't rush. Let the stillness sit longer than it usually would. You've walked through the ache. You've remembered what was forgotten. You've breathed your way back to the place where faith lives not loudly, but deeply. And now, just be here, not fixing, not striving, just resting in what's true. You are held. Still, always. Even in the night, even in the silence, even when the world keeps spinning and your soul still aches a little, still, you are held. Let's whisper this together. God, you saw me when no one else did. You stayed awake when I fell apart. You heard the cry I didn't want to admit. And you came close not because I was strong, but because I was honest. Thank you for the peace that doesn't demand performance, for the nearness that doesn't wait for perfection, for the way you move in silence and heal without noise. Tonight and every night after, remind me that you're not asking me to carry it alone. You never were. Even now, I trust you're near, and that's enough. Take a moment, just breathe. Let the lightness settle into your chest. This isn't the end, it's a return. To truth, to peace, to the one who never turned away. The cry was only the beginning. Now, the calm can come. And in it, purpose will rise again, not rushed, not forced, but exactly on time. If your heart needs more spaces like this, where your soul can breathe without pressure, and your pain can be seen without judgment, stay close. Subscribe to Calm Called. So when the next whisper comes, you'll be ready to receive it. You're not walking alone anymore. Heaven heard you crying last night, and tonight, heaven is still here.